Did you hear about how Kamala Harris has betrayed the revolution and is as, if not more, genocidal than Genocide Joe? You know, I saw this bit. Oh, dear Lord. Listen up. We're at a rally.
And look, as we move our nation forward, Donald Trump intends to take our nation backward. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda. Project 2025. I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. I am speaking now. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
A lot of people only posted the second half of this. Honest to God, I don't think it's nearly as bad as people are saying it is. I still think it's bad. I think she could have done a better job with the second bit. The context here is that prior to this rally, Kamala Harris actually met with the vice president of the Uncommitted National Movement. That's a group of a large number of is it Midwestern broadly, or is it just in Michigan? I think it's just in Michigan, actually. A large number of people who have committed to withhold their vote unless the Democratic candidate has a better position in Israel. Yeah, but like 100,000 people. It's a lot of people, you know? I think they're all over. I think that there's a lot of them in Michigan. A lot of them in Michigan. Anyway, before this rally, she actually talked with Laila Elabed. She took a photo with them, and she said that she wanted Kamala Harris to embrace an Israeli arms embargo. Elabed, who was invited by the Harris campaign to participate in the photo line, became emotional when she shook hands with the freshly minted candidates, breaking down crying as she explained she's Palestinian and how devastating the conflict is for her personally. Elabed described Harris as, quote, sympathetic, and walked away from the interaction with the impression the vice president had agreed to sit down with her group to discuss a weapons embargo. So my understanding is that before this rally, not only had one of the leads of the undecided movement met with Kamala Harris, and that Kamala Harris had been sort of amicable to the idea of an arms embargo, at least to talk about it. Like, look at this. So far, I know the Harris campaign has reached out to the group's special meeting, and the White House moved quickly to make clear where the vice president stands, saying Thursday, Harris, quote, does not support an arms embargo on Israel. So whatever Harris did promise there was substantial enough that the White House had to move to go, no, 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 no. You know? She's in an awkward position because, yeah, she's not just a candidate for the presidency. She's also the current VP, which means that she has to really walk the tightrope, you know, when it comes to, yeah, because I'm a feminist, thank you. She really has to walk the tightrope on what she's allowed to say and what she's allowed to defend and what she's allowed to embrace. It's really difficult, especially when it comes to foreign policy stuff, because, you know, you're speaking a little bit more towards like federal level State Department stuff, especially in the current context, where they might be a little bit more tight-lipped about their rhetoric, you know? She can't say much, but she made plans to speak with them in the future, and I believe she actually did have another meeting with them. Am I incorrect? Remind me if I'm misremembering, but did she not also meet with the movement to some limited capacity? Here, let me see if I can... Here we go, from Fox News. We trust them, don't we? Oh, wait, never mind. You have to sign up for Fox News now. That's crazy. On Wednesday, Kamala Harris briefly met with, Laila Elabed and Abbas Alawi before a public rally, Uncommitted Movement co-founders. We were holding on to each other as I was speaking because I was so emotional, Elabed said, but she and the movement were also clear with Harris they want more than words and emotion. They want a formal, official meeting with Harris to talk policy. She agreed and said, yes, we will meet, and she said it's horrific of the bombing of Gaza. But during the brief interaction, Harris did not say whether she would make any movement towards an arms embargo or when a meeting would happen. Yeah. For one, how could she possibly schedule a meeting right there, like at a meet and greet prior to the rally? That it takes it takes time to reach out and coordinate that, you know? And for two, she's really limited in what she can say as both the vice president and the presidential candidate, you know? Elabed had hoped for more. Her empathy towards me, towards Palestinians, did feel genuine, but that's not enough, right? Palestinian children can't live off prayers and sorrows. I wish the uncommitted movement is one of the relatively good, like, protest movements when it comes to being practical about things, but I feel like in this instance, they are once more shooting themselves in the foot. I don't understand what the point is of doing this. Your leaders met with her right before this rally. She said she would meet with you in the future. Why would you then interrupt it multiple times in protest? I genuinely don't understand what you're trying to get at that point. You won. Like, you got the thing. Maybe if you have the movement, or sorry, if you have the meeting and then it doesn't go the way you want it to, do we know they're connected? Yeah, those speakers were from the uncommitted movement, no? That's what I read online. Are they just like random people? The protesters weren't connected? Oh, it was reported, at least what I saw, those hecklers were connected. That the uncommitted movement had in fact done that. Okay. I heard from the majority report they weren't connected, yeah. Idiot online leftists ruin everything yet again. Did you guys see the discourse on Twitter where someone was like, why don't these protesters show up to right-wing rallies and protest? And a bunch of lefties answered with, there were a bunch of people saying, like, we have good answers and bad answers. And the good answers were, well, what do you expect us to do? Trump isn't currently the president. Obama, or sorry, not, that's four. Joe Biden is Obama's shadow president, not because he's black, don't get it twisted. And but then there were a lot of people with like the really weak milquetoast answers, the like, it's dangerous for us to go and protest a genocide at a right-wing rally, which is like, okay, I thought we cared about this, you know? Vosh deteriorating, he should step down. You'll pull my corpse off this chair. The morning after Wednesday's rally, the uncommitted movement sent out a press release explaining their experience speaking with Harris and requesting a formal meeting to discuss an arms embargo. Less than 1 hour. Okay, so right away, this is bad strategy. If you're a protest group and you want to meet with a prospective presidential candidate who is bound by the limits of the current administration, you do not want to say what you are trying to discuss. You want to be vague. You want to say, talk with Harris about our concerns with regards to foreign policy in the Israel and the Gaza Strip. You know, you don't want to be specific like this because that leads to denunciations and it makes it seem like if Kamala Harris does speak with you, she automatically is in favor of an arms embargo, which she won't be able to do because she's still the VP of the sitting administration. Yeah, don't tip your hand. Less than 1 hour after that email was sent, Harris's national security advisor, Phil Gordon, tweeted that the vice president was absolutely not interested in stopping the flow of weapons. Of course they're going to say that no matter what. We know she doesn't support an arms embargo, uncommitted co-founder Alawe said in response to Gordon's statement. That's why we need an update to this policy. I hate to say it, but this was fuel for anti-electoral smoothies online. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but like, I'm not defending the bad things that Kamala Harris does or supports. I'm not saying that we should settle for less. I'm saying that this is an objectively bad way to handle it. And a lot of people online only saw the second half of this clip. Genuine question, what are you supposed to do if you're at a rally and the anti-genocide protesters are there heckling and you respond once to the heckling and then they keep going at it? Like, obviously, past a point, you're gonna have to make them leave, right? Like, you're not going to make Kamala Harris right there renounce the policies of the current administration that she's a part of and adopt the new strategy for Israel or moving forward. Like, past a point, obviously, you're just gonna be removed, you know? I still think the way she responded the second time was bad.
As we move our nation forward, Donald Trump intends to take our nation backward. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda. Project 2025. I'm here because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now.
I wonder if from Kamala Harris's perspective, she was also more frustrated with the protesters because she thought they were with uncommitted. Keep in mind that just a few minutes before going up there, she would have spoken with the leaders of the uncommitted movement, which makes you think, like, did she think that was them, that was their people as well? Kind of hard to say. Kind of a fog of war situation. Anyway, the way she responded to it reflexively was not great, you know? Why don't they ever do that shit with Trump? Well, there are good answers and bad answers to that question. The good answer is Trump isn't part of the current administration. Also, Trump is openly in favor of more Palestinian deaths. So you can't even, like, name and shame. He's fine with that, right? You know, you have to limit your protest to people who... You're not protesting, like, equally everyone who disagrees with you. You're doing it for a reason, to produce an outcome, right? That being said, I do think that exclusively protesting the better of the two options has a kind of silencing, chilling, dampening effect on the perceived efficacy of voting for the better of two options, and that it would be better if this was kind of like a ubiquitous thing. After all, the genocide of the Palestinians isn't a Democrat problem, it's an American problem. So I feel like bringing that to heel in both cases would be, I think it'd be good, you know? If you're concerned about your personal safety, then I would argue you're not really committed to the bit, I guess. Like, if you're protesting a genocide and your response to the question, why don't you do this at a Trump rally, is, I'm worried that I might get hurt. I don't know. I mean, you guys signal revolutionary intent quite a bit. Do you not think that response was prepared? No, I don't think it was prepared at all. I think that was just like a very Hillary Clinton-esque reflexive response to heckling. That's the real scandal to me. She should have been prepared. I think it would have been better if she'd said something along the lines of, I hear your concerns. I spoke with I've spoke with organizers just before this rally, and I wonder what she could get away with saying. I've spoke with organizers just before this rally. I met with undecided, and I'm interested in having a conversation with them because I hear, you know, something, even I hear you, I see you would have been better than this Hillary Clinton-esque, like, you want Donald Trump to win kind of bit, you know? Something like that. Yeah, like, again, obviously you could do it in slightly better and slightly worse ways, but yeah. I mean, her first response was, I hear you. Yeah, but does she see them? It is definitely a tightrope, but I think she could have done more. Or possibly less. Isn't it normal for protesters to be scared from the right wing? I mean, I don't see the point of degrading protest for that. It's not about degrading the protesters. It's that Donald Trump supports bad things, so you should protest the bad things. You know? When people exclusively protest the left of two options because it's not good enough, I don't think it's bad for them to do the protests. I think that's good. I do think that there are good, healthy, responsible ways of protesting at Donald Trump's events. Also, you could probably get him to say some insanely mask-off shit really easily. Donald Trump often has his rallies with like 400 or 500 people, not that many, and outdoor too. You could go there with like a dozen of your friends. If there's a dozen of you together that are chanting or cheering or whatever else, you're not going to get like shot by the crowd. Grow up. Like, come on. Is it dangerous in the sense that, like, it's more dangerous than going to a Democrat rally? Sure, yeah, I don't deny that. I just think that we're talking about protesting a genocide, right? There's nothing to be gained from protesting at Trump events? Wrong! Extremely wrong. A significant number of Republicans also want a ceasefire in Gaza, for one. For two, Donald Trump gets flustered easily, and even if Donald Trump committed really, really hard to the bit, and he was like, yeah, kill them all, you know, that could also be a good clip. And frankly, it would be good for the rest of us, not only because it would galvanize people who are concerned about Palestinians further to the left, but it would also make it more clear to the Democratic leadership how far right supporting Israel is. The more aggressively Donald Trump defends Israeli genocide, the easier it is for Democrats to point at that as an example of things having gone too far. If the only people who are pressured to talk about and defend Israel are the Democrats, they get pushed back against a wall because they're the only ones who have to take the defensive position. If Donald Trump is out there screaming from the rooftops, against protesters about how necessary it is for them to bomb Gaza harder or whatever, that makes it easier for the Democrat leadership to point to that and go, we don't want that. And it gives them kind of a political out. There are benefits to doing it. Just saying. I will say, though, if you're going to protest the genocide of the Palestinian people at a Trump rally, yeah, you might want to send your white Midwesterner types and not women with hijabs, you know? I'm just saying. Like just a personal safety kind of thing, you know? But you got those.
You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's not, they're obviously not here to support Trump. It's stupid. Yeah, I'm not. So this was not a psyop? No, this was not a psyop. This looks horrible. Yeah, it doesn't make the pro-Palestinian cause look great either. Why are you guys asking me what she should have done when I just spent like 15 minutes talking about what I think she should have done? I think this will be forgotten by next week. It's not a huge deal. Huh. 2 hours ago, an interview with the people who interrupted Kamala Harris dropped. Mother Jones? Zainab Hakim... Wait, Salma Hamami and Zainab Hakim are no strangers to disruption. University of Michigan, doo-doo-doo. Get so much attention, booing Kamala Harris. The two shouted, Kamala, you need to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. We demand an arms embargo and a free Palestine. Kamala, Kamala, you can't hide. We won't vote for genocide. Kamala responded, escorted out of the rally. Why'd you interrupt Vice President Kamala Harris' speech, and what were you hoping to achieve? How do you think she would react? Hakim, I guess the closest thing I had imagined is that we would be told we weren't interested in dialogue and we were just interested in yelling, and that's maybe what I imagined she would say. What do you make of the vice president's retort? Do you want Donald Trump to win? No, of course not. I think it's a really interesting response and a questionable response to people who are saying we want an end to genocide. The fact that her first response is, oh, so you want Donald Trump to win? Well, actually, it was her second response, but, you know. Mix of reactions online. Some were applauding the VP for being so direct. Others were saying that she's jeopardizing win by alienating the large Arab American community in Michigan. There was even some discourse around the idea of interrupting a woman of color. There's a lot to unpack there. Do you think that's a fair critique? I thought that was just bullshit, the whole interrupting a woman of color thing. Okay, Hakim is based in anti-idpol pill. We take those. We take those. Anyone reading this might ask, okay, but when the other candidate in the race is Donald Trump, who has used the term Palestinian as an insult, does this not hurt the cause you're advocating for in the long run? Hamami says, in the long run, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party have basically taken the same approach and the same stance on the issue of Palestine. This is true in the long term. That is absolutely correct. America has basically been like, yeah. So the divergent point is basically like right now, potentially. Yeah. So far correct. They are both pro-Israel in the same way. Primaries are both bought by AIPAC. They are both taking money from Zionist organizations. The only difference is just how they try to appeal to their voters to make it seem like they care about human life. There is an immediate difference right now. I think that's worth acknowledging. Minute difference? No, there's a pretty significant difference right now at this moment. We've never had, to my knowledge at least, we've never had a presidential candidate before campaigning on we want more Palestinians dead and using Palestinian as an insult. That's pretty crazy. So to me, as someone who keeps track of the ongoing issues in Palestine, the Republican Party and Democratic Party are one and the same on this. And for them to constantly say we need to vote a Democratic member in and not the Republican Party because they're the lesser of two evils and because one just has a less intense version of genocide, which I don't actually find that to be true considering the genocide is being aided by the Democratic Party right now. Okay, they're idiots. Sorry, guys. What are they, college students? They were at U Michigan? Yeah, sorry, they're dumb. They just seem so concerned about a hypothetical genocide when there's an actual genocide that is happening in the current moment. Guys, are two genocides worse than one? Is a worse genocide and a new additional one worse than the current ongoing one? I'm not in the abandoned Biden movement or the uncommitted campaign. Both have done amazing work. In regards to uncommitted, I definitely appreciate them for making clear Arab Americans and Muslim Americans significant voting bloc. It is important for us all to remember none of these options are going to free Palestine. Okay, yeah, sorry. These guys specifically are actually idiots. They're not with uncommitted. Hakim says, with regards to committed, I definitely appreciate them for making clear the fact that Arab Americans and Muslim Americans are a significant voting bloc and have the power to sway the election whichever way, and I think that's really important work the committee did. But I also think it's important for all of us to remember none of these options are going to free Palestine or end the genocide, and that appealing to Kamala Harris is not a solution in any way, shape, or form. That is what you are doing with the protest. Well, then you're just doing it. Then you're just doing adventurism. So you don't care about any of this. It's literally like a LARP then. So you don't, so there's no, what are you protesting for? Fun? Ridiculous, honestly. What people seem to forget is she's not just like some random person who decides to run for president. She's been the vice president for all 300 plus days of this genocide, and she could have said something in all that time. She has? Said what? She has. She's been loud about having like a ceasefire for a while now. Apparently her meeting with Netanyahu didn't go well at all because Netanyahu doesn't like her because she was a lot more oppositional than Biden. Yeah, she was calling for a ceasefire before. What do they want her to... Okay, yeah. If the Harris campaign called, try to hash this out and have a conversation, what would you take that call? Hamami says, if she wanted to hash this out, she needs to go to the Israeli government and say, we're cutting off all military funding. Oh, so you want an arms embargo, the thing the uncommitted group is pushing for, but you literally just said you think that they're misguided for trying to appeal to her. So nothing's going to change. There's no point in appealing to Kamala Harris. We support we support uncommitted's intentions, but it's not going to work. But, you know, if hypothetically someone could convince Kamala Harris to support an arms embargo, that we would be in favor of. Did you know median voter syndrome applies to people across the entire political spectrum? Did you know? There's nothing to hash out with the voters. Wrong! Political parties in a democracy can only do things that they can get away with. If the voter base hates what they do so much that they don't win the election, then they can't do that thing. The point in a democracy is to do things that get you elected. That's how the system works. You have to hash that out with the voters. If the voters all responded to her being pro-arms embargo with, well, that's anti-Semitic, we're going to support Trump then, a real ally to Israel and the Jews, then it didn't really matter that she supported the arms embargo, did it? Because now she's not in power. Yeah, maybe the anti-Starbucks protesting is necessary because it keeps people like this away from the rallies. What needs to be hashed out with is the people who are committing genocide right now. Yeah, that's why you talk to Kamala, to get her to do that thing. That's how that's how the whole thing works, man. Post hoc, Kamala did nothing wrong with these people. Nah, she still handled this poorly. And now she's given people like this ammunition who can say she doesn't care at all because she responded in a Hillary Clinton-esque way. So, yeah, you know, just me providing, as always, the enlightened centrist perspective. Everyone's dumb but me. I know. It gets tired hearing it the 5,000th time, but it just never stops being correct. Really, though, I fully support protesting Biden and Kamala Harris. I just think that, as is always the case with protests, you have to do things intelligently. It's important. You have to do things intelligently. You can't just toss that out there. You got to think it through. We still have time to cover the Trump press conference. Fantastic. Let me pee real quick. And Kamala should reward hecklers by dignifying their methods. Bassis108, how did you get a yellow name? If she did capitulate to the hecklers, she would basically be capitulating to the same ilk of people that were carrying Hamas's coming signs 2 weeks ago. Bassis108, congratulations. Libwatch is active and it's caught you. Shut the fuck up. You're engaging at this in the same low IQ way that they are. You think you're smarter than them. You're not, okay? You're failing to consider a wide variety of material conditions here. You're not engaging with the substance of the issue. You just want to feel smarter than them. And they just want to feel smarter than the libs. You two deserve each other. You're like a little human centipede with the ends tied off, okay? You produce shit, so they produce shit, so you produce shit, so they produce shit, okay? You two deserve each other. We have ineffective Michigan ceasefire protesters who make their cause look worse, and we have people like you who think that any engagement from Kamala Harris that's more optically considerate is actually capitulating to Twitter leftists. You're perfect for each other. Honestly, how'd you get that yellow name? Who gave that to you? Stolen valor. There's no substance, they're just contrarians. Bassis108! Newsflash, dumbass! When Kamala Harris responds to protesters at an event, she's not talking to them. She's talking to the American people. Much in the same way that I'm not talking to you right now. You think I give a shit what you think? I'm talking to 10,000 people. You're just one tiny slice of a big pie. That's how public speaking works. I don't care. Right now, I'm dignifying your incessant, inane bullshit by giving it attention, but I felt the utility of explaining the importance of engaging fairly with complaints like this was worth that. Much in the same way that Kamala Harris could bear the indignity of giving attention to these bad faith protesters if it meant signaling something better to the American people. That's what matters most. It's the broader reception. I'm rock solid in my position. I know Basis 108 because you're a contrarian. You're still dignifying hecklers. That's okay, man. I don't have to suffer it, not even from a yellow name. You think you're special? I don't have to suffer that. I'm rock solid in my position. Ridiculous. They deserve each other. You understand how the person who I just banned for a week and the people who are doing the protest are two sides of the same coin, right? They're thinking oppositionally. The protesters are only thinking about what they can do to signal their opposition to the playbook of the Democratic Party, and that person in chat is only thinking what does or doesn't dignify the perceived low IQ behavior of the protesters. They're not thinking broadly. They're not thinking strategically. They're only thinking about their personal beefs and biases. We don't support that drama-mongering low IQ bullshit here. We're trying to think of the we're thinking our plans are measured in centuries. We're thinking about the long game, okay? And when you come back, I want you to spend 7 days thinking about that, okay? And when you come back, I want you to be thinking in centuries.